Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. We finished diving into the Docker Compose file, so I think at this point I want to show you a bit more about what Keycloak and how I've got my settings. Every now and then I will refer back to Keycloak so we understand how I'm using it to control the security flow of the application. But before we dive into Keycloak, I've got the front end running. There isn't much on the front end because I really don't care how it looks like. I do, however, care about the functionality, certain things that I want it to do. And at the moment, the functionality is more of the back end than the front end, because it's only first to work on the back end, make sure the APIs and all that stuff is working, and then there are so many things that we can use the backend services to do for the front end. So I drive from the back to the front, not from the front to the back. So all right, so enough about that talking. So this is the front end. There is not much going on here, but I would at some point dive into how it looks like. I've left quite a lot of stuff. I did not want to go too far, as I already said. But if we run it, if we say ng serve, and that's how you serve it, and I will go into the package.json and all that stuff on its own in its own video at some point. I just want you to take a peek. Look, so we're gonna go to the localhost. So I'm running on Chrome, and yeah, and there you can see that because it's reliant on the Keycloak server, is saying it's not working, and the reason why is because we need to start the backbone. Okay, so if we go to the back end, and we're gonna go to the terminal, and the Docker Compose file is in this folder, the gateway folder. So I'm just going to say Docker Compose app, and if you type Docker Compose app, you need to make sure you've got your Docker running. So I'm just gonna make sure my Docker is running. This is Docker, so you need to make sure you install Docker. I'm gonna run it. Now that I've got it running, I'm just gonna say Docker Compose app, and that should bring the services up, right? And hopefully once Keycloak service is running, and I think by now it should be, then the front end should be fine, right? So here is a quick glance of the front end. Doesn't look like you can see everything, right? So we can see some bits and pieces, but not the full page. But this is a quick one. So I've got a login there. If I want to log in, I can log in. Just log in with a user, PASSWORD. So this user is login, and if I was to get the other services running, then I'll be able to seed some data onto the front end, and then we can see some stuff here, but we're supposed to see some products and stuff like that here. That is not what I want to get through. What I want to get through is localhost, and we want 9098, and we say admin, and we say admin, and that is my password to now you see this thing here is because this particular to say you need to change the password for admin. I log into Keycloak, for me, when I log into Keycloak, this is what I get. The reason why this happened is because I mess up with the master rem of Keycloak, because this master rem you see here is it's like you're not supposed to mess up with the master rem. I will show you in a minute. I was trying to edit something and I ignored, well, I did not double check here that I was selecting my own rem, but I ended up selecting, well, I did not select it, it defaulted. Sometimes when you log in and log in back again, it defaults it, and if you don't double check, that's what happens. And it messed everything up, and I was having so much problems. So what I had to do, I deleted the database and the volume and everything. Then I went back and did the whole, I even changed the database name and everything, right? But somehow it still persists, this old rem, right? But no, it's not there. It just gives you a warning every time you log in. So if you ever get this, it's because of that kind of thing. Excuse my language. So I'm gonna close that one, and then it does give you a warning to change your password. So temporary user, so change your password, create a permanent admin account and delete the temporary one. So it wants you to create another admin account. I'm not bothered with it. I just want to use this for testing, so it's not a big deal. So this is the master rem that I'm talking about, right? This is the master rem, and you need to select the one that you are using all the time. Don't just make sure you don't, this is not ticked. Just make sure of that, because if you forget something, you will mess around with it, especially if you are in production and stuff like that. So just be careful. To create a rem, you just create rem, and then you say, you give it the name of the rem, and then you say create, and that creates you a rem. So you probably want to give it a meaningful name, otherwise it doesn't really matter what you give, as long as you remember what it is. So let's go back. Let me select my default rem, right? And then you create clients. Okay, for me, for this particular application, I've got two clients. I've got Ocean client. This client, actually I'm using it for the backend, because the settings and everything has to be set up for the backend, and I had a lot of problems of this, and I didn't realize until I watched another video, a tutorial, which the guy, I did not notice it in the first round when I was watching that video, but when I went back to look into it, then I realized that he had two clients. Okay, so you need to have two clients, one exactly set up like this for the backend. How did I set up a client? So to set up a client, we go back to client. You create a client this way, right? And then you give the client ID and the name and the description. Okay, I'm not gonna do it again, but whatever ID you want that is related, I tend to give it the ID that I think is related to my option, or something like the application that you want to use, something like that. But otherwise, as long as you can remember, the next time you use this thing and you can see your application, this belongs to this particular application, it just, whatever you want is fine. Then you go to next, right, until you come to this point where so this is for the back end. So and then at some point you have to set up the root URL. I'm setting my root URL as my front end. So this is where is the root URL that you want things to be diverted to, right? So that is the root URL, and you can check what the meaning is here. So normally, like, the root URL is, let's say you type in something that isn't correct, it will divert back to that root URL. So the redirect URL is basically the root URL, yeah, // and that is the recommendation by all the tutorials that I've gone in. And if we want to log out, this is what I've given out, but this, I think, log out redirect URL takes you back to the root URL. Okay, then I did not set this up. I think when you set up Keycloak, set this up automatically. Okay, then this is the most important part. In order to do the backend, the API backend, you want Keycloak to work well for your API backend. You need the client of it authentication on. You need authorization authentication on. Then you need standard flow, direct flow, and service flow. So this is, which means that client has access to username, password, and exchange it directly with Keycloak server for access token. So this is the bit that we log in and then we get the access token. This one is says to this enables standard OpenID Connect direct base authentication with authorization code. So this one is the main thing that you need, but when you select, I think when you select this one comes up. So the roles, service roles, and service accounts and roles, you need that one as well, because this is where roles comes in. All right, and I think the rest of it I've left it. I've got front channel logout on. I've got back channel logout section required. Anyway, these are, I think, defaults. Alright guys, so at this point I've got to end the video here, and then we will carry on with the looking into Keycloak and my settings in the next video, because my time has now run out. See you then. Thank you for watching.